Hi everyone, Jen Broyles here, and in this video we are going to cover everything you need to know about the 2019 Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 report. We're going to address new updates, new additions, everything you need to know. And if you're not familiar with the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 and what that is, every year a group called EWG, or the Environmental Working Group, puts out a shopper's guide to pesticides in produce and provides a Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list. And the Dirty Dozen are the most contaminated conventional produce items, and the Clean 15 are the cleanest, least toxic, least sprayed with pesticides produce items in your supermarket. And the Environmental Working Group, their mission is to empower people to live healthier lives in a healthier environment. They're a nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting human health and the environment. And so they educate consumers on a variety of topics, like what's in your tap water, what's in your cosmetics, in your shampoo, in your cleaning products, and what pesticides are in your food. And this is really, really important to know and be educated on. And this produce report is updated every year since 2004, and it ranks pesticide contamination of 47 of the most popular fruits and vegetables in your supermarket. And the guide is based on results of more than 40,000 samples of produce tested by the USDA, which is the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. And unfortunately, and not surprisingly, nearly 70% of the produce sold in the U.S. comes with pesticide residues. And a variety of pesticides have been shown to have carcinogenic, which is cancer-causing properties, neurotoxic properties, as well as impact fertility. And the most surprising news this year from the USDA testing reveals that one of the most popular health food items, kale, is among the most contaminated fruits and vegetables. More than 92% of kale samples had 2 or more pesticide residues detected, and a single sample could contain up to 18 different residues of pesticides. Now, the most frequently detected pesticide on kale, found on nearly 60% of kale samples, was a pesticide called DCPA, which has been classified by the Environmental Protection Agency since 1995 as a possible human carcinogen, and has been prohibited and banned for use in Europe since 2009. Okay, so this is really concerning. Now, overall, the USDA found 225 different pesticides and pesticide breakdown products on popular fruits and vegetables that Americans eat every day. And before testing, because you might be wondering, well, what about washing my fruits and vegetables? Before testing, all of the produce was washed and peeled, just as most of us would prepare the food for ourselves in our home, which shows that simple washing of your fruits and vegetables does not remove all of the pesticides. Okay, so let's dive into the list. Okay, so the 2019 Dirty Dozen list is going to be, again, the top 12 most contaminated forms of conventional produce. Okay, so these are going to be the dirtiest forms, the most sprayed with pesticides. All right, so number 1 is strawberries. Okay, so strawberries are incredibly heavily sprayed with pesticides. They're found on a large percentage of strawberries in the US. And so strawberries were number 1 on the Dirty Dozen list, followed by spinach and then kale, nectarines and apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, and potatoes. So those are your top 12, okay, dirtiest forms of produce, conventional produce, right? So the key findings here are that more than 90% of samples of strawberries, apples, cherries, spinach, nectarine, and kale tested positive for residues of 2 or more pesticides. Multiple samples of kale showed 18 different pesticides, okay? Kale and spinach samples had on average 1.1 to 1.8 times as much pesticide residue by weight than any other crop. Okay, so those are the key takeaways there, and just something to make note of. And now let's get into the Clean 15 list. Now the Clean 15 is the list of the fruits and vegetables that have few, if any, detected pesticide residues. And for 2019, the list is as follows. Number 1, avocados, followed by sweet corn, pineapples, frozen sweet peas, onions, papayas, eggplant, asparagus, kiwi, cabbage, cauliflower, cantaloupe, broccoli, mushrooms, and honeydew. Okay, so that's your Clean 15. So this means that relatively few pesticides were detected on these foods, and tests found total concentrations of pesticide residues very, very low concentrations. So some of the key findings here are that avocados and sweet corn are the cleanest. There was less than 1% of samples that showed any detectable pesticides. More than 70% of Clean 15 fruit and vegetable samples had no pesticide residues. With the exception of cabbage, all other produce in the Clean 15 list tested positive for less than 4 pesticides. And multiple pesticide residues are extremely rare on Clean 15 vegetables. Only 6% of Clean 15 fruit and vegetable samples had 2 or more pesticides. Okay, now before we wrap this up and we talk about what does all this mean, the other thing I want to point out that's important to be aware of are GMOs, which are genetically engineered crops. And GMOs such as starchy field corn and soy are primarily found in processed foods. And GMO foods are not often found in the fresh produce section of American supermarkets. However, it's something to take note of, because according to the USDA, a small percentage of zucchini, yellow squash, and sweet corn is genetically modified. And most Hawaiian papaya is genetically modified. And now genetically engineered apples and potatoes are starting to enter the US market. So GMOs, I can do a whole other video on GMOs, because genetically modified crops have also been linked to a number of different chronic conditions. And so the best option, if you want to make sure you're avoiding GMOs as well, is to buy organic. Now, the key takeaway with all of this information is you might be thinking, well, do I have to like switch everything over to organic now? Not necessarily. What I love about this list is that it gives you options. So you don't have to go all in all at once on buying organic food, right? Because some of it's more expensive, some of it's not. But the key takeaway is when it comes to deciding which produce items to buy organic and which ones to buy conventional, focus on the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So if you're buying a produce item that's on that Dirty Dozen list, try to buy it in organic form, right? Make sure you're buying an organic version, okay? Because those should have 0 pesticide. They're not grown with pesticides. They should not have pesticide residue on them, and they are not genetically modified, okay? Now, if you're going to buy conventional produce items, buy the items on the Clean 15 list in a conventional form, okay? So this kind of gives you a framework to work from, and you can even go to ewg.org and print off the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list, and even view the entire report of the 47 different fruits and vegetables. But the main thing to focus on is getting the Dirty Dozen organic, and you can buy the Clean 15 and non-organic, unless they might be genetically modified. Then if that's a concern for you, buy those organic as well. So I hope this gives you some clarity and helps you out when it comes to grocery shopping and knowing when to buy organic and when you don't necessarily have to. And until next time, we will talk again soon. Bye for now.